Hello everybody, welcome back. YouTube.com/Geek Aloud for another Let's Install. Today we're doing Mafia II. Let's install it. Physical disc, physical copy of Mafia II going in to the PlayStation 4 Pro. This PlayStation 4 Pro has had a hard drive upgrade. We took out the original slow platter hard drive that Sony shipped it with and we bung in an SSD, solid state drive. That thing runs twice as fast. Cut your load times in half. But more importantly, that video, and I show you how to do that, description, link, video below, click, you go watch, upgrade your PS4. It'll be great. Here's Definitive 2. Definitive 2, Mafia 2, Definitive Edition installing. I'm not sure why it's just saying start. Does it only play it off the disc? No, here we go. It's downloading an update file. We're about a week after the launch here for Mafia 2. It's version 1.02. That's for the trilogy, I should say. This Definitive 2 may have come out months ago now that I think about it, and Definitive 1 just came out a few days ago, a week ago or so, in the trilogy pack. This is the physical edition that came in that pack, but I believe you could have had Mafia Definitive Edition 2 prior to this. I believe they released it some time ago. I could be wrong on that. We're not going to start without installing. We will install. We can see it's installing that update. Actually, if it's only downloading, it's only downloading the patch. So I'm going to start it without the update to see if this will kick off the install from disk, because this could have got us, I believe, with Mafia 1. If we had jumped in earlier, I think it would have been slightly more efficient. So we've lived, we've learnt. We know. Always check. Launch that disk. Maybe you can see the install from the main menu. Assuming it's like Definitive Edition 1, it will be. Oh, also, if it's Definitive Edition 1, when I go like that and put myself in the install location, I should be able to reach back here and grab a sawn-off shotgun if it's that same apartment window main menu screen that they used on the #1 Definitive Edition. I encourage you to check out that Let's Install just for the placement of that shotgun right there. It looks hilarious to me. They've got a white couch in the same spot I've got a white couch. What were the chances? Slim to none. Anyway, let's see. Options button to continue. Can we see an installing marker? Oh, I've got to crank the brightness way up. The studio lights are so bright in my eyes. If it's not at max brightness, I can't see anything in the shadows. Where is the installer? I want to see some sort of... I'm not seeing any installing off the disk. Well, the account's linked and we're in and it's done a save. Well, that's interesting. I guess the only thing we can do is wait for this patch, install the patch, then relaunch the game and see if it's installing. But it appears to me as though it's not going to install off the disk, which is odd because I really thought it would have. But we'll download this patch, we'll get it up to version 1.02, and then we'll try and launch the game. Maybe we should try and launch it now, actually. That's got 6 minutes. Let's have a look. Let's go in. We'll say the story. We'll put it on medium. Blah. Yeah, okay, great. Disclaimer for the fact that the game was built 10 years ago. That does seem like an odd thing to disclaim to me. Now, it's saying loading. I'm just kind of hoping if it goes straight into a cutscene, I'm not even going to bother sticking around. I'll just bounce out and force shut the application, go back to that install screen. But I'm hopeful maybe it'll give us some sort of indicator as to the install progress. Are we going to see anything? This is, at this point, this is a cutscene I cannot skip. Ooh. That does... well, let's skip the cutscene. I'm just trying to now, once again, trying to get through some sort of weird thrust me straight into the thing and I want to bounce out and see a main menu. This is what I'm trying to get to. Just launching in. I should note, when this happens, it creates an autosave file and saves beyond it. Before I actually sit down and play, I delete those so I can re-see the cutscenes. All right, Scaletta. If you're doing something similar at home, you might want the same thing, maybe. Just something to keep in mind if you're pushing it through. But there it is, main menu, no indicator. Again now, even though we've been into the story, I thought that may have updated the menu to show it, but it hasn't. So we'll install from here. We'll let this patch go, then we'll install the patch, then we'll see what's happening. Otherwise, maybe once this patch is done, it'll be a successful install. Let's watch. All right, getting exciting now. Copying 17%. Why is that going so slow? I bet it's because it's still open. Let's do some of this one. Close application, and hopefully that'll copy it in a bit quicker. What are we looking at currently? Version 1 installed off the disk. The patch hasn't been applied yet. Off the disk, 46.76 gig. That's on the internal SSD hard drive. Upgrade yours if you haven't already. I've been banging on about it for a while. Here we go. Copying the update. So now it's applying the patch. I just downloaded it. What was it? 6.48 gig, I think, off the top of my head. So it'll be applying that patch now to the install, what it's grabbed off the disk already. It went from, what was it, 3.4 or something meg up to 46 gig or something. Copying the patch now. Let's install it. Okay, I'm going to try something out here. I've got a theory. I think it's installing Mafia II in the background, and that's why it's taking so long to apply the patch file to it. I think it's copying off the hard drive, like version 1.0 off the disk to the hard drive, and at the same time, I think it's trying to rewrite that install to the 1.02 patch. I think they may be stepping on each other. So what I'm going to do instead is launch a digital game. We'll go with Rocket League. It doesn't matter what it is. We just want to launch some other application so there's no chance that the Mafia 2 is in the foreground. I want to push to the background. So by starting another application, I ensure it's suspended. Once this launches, I'm going to go back out, and then I'm going to relaunch Mafia 2 and bring it into the foreground and just see if we can't speed up that write process. I'm just not sure. So if it was installing version 1 off the disk at the same time as applying 1.02 patch, because it was in the foreground, I'm hoping by pushing it to the background, it'll suspend the 1.0 install off the disk, and it'll do the 1.02 patch, and I'll be able to launch into the 1.02 quickly. I'm hopeful. I have no idea. Let's see what happens. All right, Rocket League has launched. Mafia 2 has definitely been suspended and thrown in the background, and it's sitting at 24%. Strange. Let's start it without updating. We'll force that closed. The fact that it still said it was 24%, an increase of 3% since we last saw it, says to me that even though it was pushed to the background because Rocket League was brought to the foreground, I think it still just kept going on its merry way. Still installing, quietly in the background. So now that I've done that, what happens if we close? Wait, before we close, I want to bring up the information because I believe the information will still say we're on version 1.0 off the disk. So now we're going to close it. Okay. And then when we relaunch it, it should say copying. I'll let it sit here and see if it speeds up. If nothing really happens at any great rate, I'll come back and I'll restart the console and see if a restart speeds it up. Otherwise, we'll just let it sit there for the minute. Okay, so I've had a look online, and it reads to me, from what I can gather, it appears as though what we're witnessing here, it's the progress bar for the version 1.0 installer and the 1.02 installer, if that makes sense. So it's an aggregate install of the 1.02 patch. So although it doesn't break it up for us visually and clearly state it, it's in fact installing version 1.0, and once version 1.0 is complete, it won't be at 100%. It'll be less than, 90%, greater than 90%, less than 100%, and that's when it will patch the 6 gigs of the 1.02 patch. And the final thing it'll do in this progress bar is apply that 1.02 patch, and then we're fully upgraded. So the reason this is taking so long to install, it's not installing the 6 gig patch, it's first installing the 40 gig of the application and then the 6 gig of the patch. That's why it's taking so long, but that's what this indicator is about. Keep your eye on it. It is installing. It's a little bit confusing as to what's happening, but it's going along beautifully. This will be in line with all the other installs on the channel now. At least we know what's happening. Enjoy. All right, everybody, exciting times. Looks like it's successfully been installed. As I said, even though that patch was saying it was copying 1.02, it wasn't. In fact, you were seeing the initial sort of maybe 86% was the version 1.0 completion of its install, and then it was the 1.2 patch. That's why the loading progress bar took so long to get across. Even though it said copying, it was in fact installing off the disk and then applying the patch. This looks very successfully installed. We're seeing menus. There it is, main menu. That's great. So let's do a final check here of information. And we had successfully installed Mafia II, the Definitive Edition, 56.14 gigs. We're, a week after release, and it's version 1.02. Like it, subscribe it, you'll never miss it.
Oh!
Trophy!
Finally! Yes!
Avengers, assemble!
He's trying to sweep up leaves in this world. And another one!